It's Richard Gladwell here from Sail World, here with Stu Bannatyne, who's just joined Team Alpha Medica. Stu, this is your 7th round the world race. Are you a slow learner?
Yeah, I've had a few comments like that lately. Yeah, this will be the 7th time, but obviously not doing a full race this time, but it's nice to be able to jump back in and stay in touch with the Volvo. I've been following it closely, so I'm pretty excited about joining the team for this next leg, which has always been one of my favourites. You know, going into the Southern Ocean is what it's all about in terms of around the world racing, so I'm really looking forward to it.
You've been training with the crew and coaching them beforehand. How long were you involved there?
That's right, my first involvement with the team was sort of in May, June of last year, where I joined them for a few days in Portugal before doing a transatlantic training run with them. And that was 10 days offshore with all the guys, so I got to know them pretty well and got to know the boats a bit. And then sort of during the stopovers so far, I've just, stayed in touch with the guys and been a bit of a sounding board for them on a few issues, few questions, but certainly have stayed in touch. So coming into the team now, it's not like I'm coming into a brand new team. I do know the guys, so hopefully the transition will be reasonably easy.
What do you think the issues are going to be coming into the Southern Ocean?
Oh, for me personally, just being back on a boat again, racing, getting into that sort of long-term watch system. I've been doing a bit of racing, lately, but nothing longer than a few days at a time. So just getting back into the routine and, 4 on, 4 off for a few weeks on end.
You've done a lot of your sailing on Volvo 70s. How do you think they compare to the 65?
A very similar concept of boat, the wide twin rudder, very powerful boat with a cannon keel, and this one's been slowed down a little bit for various reasons, but at the end of the day it's still a high performance boat and with similar characteristics. And from what we've seen so far, maybe the boats are a bit stronger, but this leg might be the true test of how hard people can really push them.
So what happens in the Southern Ocean with a boat like this? Do you just try and redline it for all you're worth, or is there a point where you've got to back off?
The tricky thing about these boats at this time round is that they haven't really been pushed that hard yet, so this leg will be very much about trying to figure out very gently how hard you can push them. And for sure, you can lose the race here in the Southern Ocean if you push too hard, so really important to be able to try and figure out how hard to push without breaking it, but not being so soft on it that you start falling behind.
What do you think about the cyclone that's coming? Is that going to have much of an impact?
I hope not. I haven't looked too closely at it yet. I'll give it another day or two before focusing on it too much, but I remember leaving here last time was probably the worst first night out of a stopover I've ever had, so it would have to be pretty bad to beat that.
What sort of conditions are you getting there? Is it 40, 50 knots, or is it the seas that were the problem?
Yeah, the sea state is always the problem. It's never just the wind speed, but over 40 knots of wind, and it's a nasty sea state that you really have to be careful with.
There's been a lot of talk around the dock about the impact of AIS. You've sort of again come up through the races with it sort of being increasingly electronic, if that's the right term. How do you see that in terms of the way it's affecting the racing?
Yeah, the AIS is an interesting one. We've sort of often had it in other races, so you've always been able to monitor boats, and following this race it seems that it's become a really important tool for the teams to use, and you can choose to use it as much as you want, but it is there, so the best thing to do is to learn as much as you can about the other teams, how they're going, and use it to your advantage.
What about on the first races you did? I mean, were you seeing boats at all in the way that they're seeing now?
Oh, certainly not. The way this race has evolved over the last couple of decades, the racing's got closer and closer. Even right through the the Volvo 60s and Volvo 70s, we were getting race finishes within minutes and even seconds at times. So the closeness of the racing here it's not a huge surprise, and it's not really a huge change from how we were racing the boats last time. Although perhaps the difference this time is that there's more boats that are closer rather than just sort of 2 or 3 being really close.
So what's your role going to be on Team Alpha Medica, given that you're on for one leg only?
I'm going to come into the watch system and just be sort of one of the regular guys and try and spread myself around a little bit and just get involved and try and help out all the guys, and maybe my viewpoint will bring a bit more to the table, and I'll just try and keep an eye on things and lend a bit of experience where it might be needed.
The Vestas wind reports come out overnight. Have you had a chance to read it, and what's your sort of first take on it?
I haven't had a chance to read the report. I believe it's a pretty long piece of work, but I've sort of seen the highlights of it. Anything we can do to make the navigators and skippers' jobs easier on these boats is going to be good for the future of the racing.
What do you think about the reliance on electronics? Is it a good or a bad thing, or it was different from when you started, certainly?
Yeah, I mean, the advent of electronics and particularly GPS has certainly made the job a lot easier, but at the same time there's still obviously fundamental concepts that have to be adhered to, and we've got to embrace, I think, the new technology that's available and use it all to the best that you can, but also just be very aware of the shortcomings of the new technology as well.
Do you feel these boats are short crewed compared to the ones that you've sailed on in the past?
They are. Certainly they have less crew than the Volvo 70s, with 2 people less, but as far as sailing the boats offshore, I don't think it's making a huge difference. Most of the time you can sail the boats with 3 or 4 guys offshore in a straight line, and it's the manoeuvres and the import racing and the short course sort of manoeuvres that you have to do is really where you notice a difference. But offshore it shouldn't be that much harder.
Okay, well, it's great to see another Kiwi in the race, and all the best.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.